ပေါ်တိုင်းအာယုံကိုမှတ်ရတဲ့တတိဟာအမျိုးအစားအကောင်းဆုံးတတိဖြစ်ရမယ်ဆိုတော့ပြောတော့ပါတယ်အမျိုးအစားအကောင်းဆုံးတတိဖြစ်ဖို့ဆိုတာတာမန်တတိမဟုတ်ပါဘူးလို့လည်းပြောတော့ပါတယ်အလွန်အကျူးထူးကဲတဲ့တတိအဲ့ဒါလိုလည်းပဲထပ်ဆင့်ပြောတော့ပါတယ်အလွန်အကျူးထူးကဲတဲ့တတိဆိုတာပဋ္ဌာနာပရှုခွင့်အာယုံမှာကတ်လျက်ဌာနကြံ့ကြံ့တီးနေတာကျွေးမှာကတ်ပြီးတော့တီးနေတာအသေးသေးပေါ်တဲ့အာယုံမှာကတ်ပြီးတော့တီးတာကပ်ပြီးတော့တည်တယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ရာဝတ္ထုတစ်ခုခုဟာတဏှာမှာတည်နေပြီဆိုလို့ရှိရင်အမြဲရှိနေတယ်အမြဲဖြစ်နေတယ်ဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်အလိုလိုရပါတယ်စင်ဆက်မပြတ်ဖြစ်နေတာကိုပဲကတ်တည်တဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်ယူရပါတယ်ကတ်တည်ဆိုတာကအပေါ်ယံကျော်ကတ်တည်လို့မရပါဘူးရှုခွင့်အာယုံနဲ့စိုက်ပြီးတော့ဝင်သွားသလားထင်ရလောက်အောင်အဲ့ဒါလိုအတီမျိုးသာကပ်ပြီးတော့ဆွဲပြီးတော့တည်နိုင်ပါတယ်အဲ့ဒါကိုပဲမျိုးစားအကောင်းဆုံးတတိဖြစ်တယ်လို့ဆိုရပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီချက်ကိုသိဖို့ရာအောက်ကန္တိတဝပဝတ္တတိဆိုတော့ဒီကျမ်းဂန်ကဖွင့်ဆိုပါတယ်အောက်ကန္တိတဝတဲ့ဝင်၍တက်တယ်ဆိုတာရောက်တာပါပဲဝင်သွားတယ်ဆိုတာကအထဲထဲရောက်သွားတာတဲ့ထဲထဲဆိုတာလက်ငင်းပေါ်လာတဲ့အာယုံလေးထဲထဲတဲ့ဝင်ပြီးတော့ဖောင်းပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင်ဖောင်းလိုက်တယ်တဲ့ဝင်သွားတာအဲ့ဒီမှာတီးနေတာဖြစ်နေတာဘယ်ပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင်ဘယ်ခုပေါ်မှာတဲ့ဝင်ပြီးတော့မပြတ်ဖြစ်နေတာရှိနေတာဖောင်းလိုက်ပိန်လိုက်ပေါ့ဒီအဲ့ဒီလိုဖြစ်နေတဲ့ဟာကိုပဲရှုခွင့်အာယုံမှာကပ်၍တဲ့ဝင်၍မပြတ်ဖြစ်နေတော့တတိလို့ဒီလိုဆိုရပါတယ်ခင်ဗျာအဲ့ဒါဟိုနေ့ကတတိရဲ့သဘာဝလက္ခဏာဒီပြောပြီးတော့အချိန်ရှိသွားတာနဲ့တရားကရက်လိုက်ရပါတယ်ဟိုနေ့ကအဆက်ဒီနေ့တင်ပြဆွေးနွေးရမှာပေါ့
Sarah explained the day before yesterday. Sarah was explaining on the best kind of sati. That best kind of sati means it is not a superficial kind of awareness. It is not just an ordinary awareness. This awareness or observation should be extremely or excessively observing onto the object. So this extremely or excessively observing on the object, Sarah explained it was shown in the word of patthana. Pa means it is to the objective field. To the objective field, your mind fixed on it or close on it. And thana is you have firm fixation on that object. So when you are fixed, you are noting mind, noting on the object or objective field in a firm manner, or because of its continuity of awareness, should say as it is sustained. Sustained means because of the continuity of observation or awareness is present, that's why we have to say it as sustained. So whenever our mind focuses onto the object, then our mind peers on it and firmly holds on it. That means it is closely noting or observing on the object. So this way of observing extremely and piercing on it is called as the best kind of sati. So this, why it is called as best kind is because our noting mind pierce or sink into that object as if it's plunged or sink into the object. So for example, like if we are noting the rising phenomenon and the noting mind, as if the noting mind sink into the rising phenomenon. Likewise to the falling phenomenon, if our mind fix and observe on the falling phenomenon, it sticks together and piercing and knowing the nature of this falling phenomenon. So in that way, that awareness of piercing or immersing into that object continuously is called the best kind of awareness, or having the best kind of sati. So this way of awareness or excessively sustained on the object it should be continuity. So this kind of sati is the extremely or excessively best kind of sati. So to that extent, Sayadaw have explained the other day, and Sayadaw will continue on this topic.
ဒီနေ့ကတတိရဲ့ပင်ကိုအထဲကိုသဘာဝလက္ခဏာလေးကိုအပိလပနလက္ခဏာစတိအဲ့ဒါလေးထုတ်ပြီးတော့ပြောတော့ပါတယ်အမှတ်ရဖို့တတိဟာအာယုံပေါ်မှာလက်ငင်းပေါ်လာတဲ့အာယုံပေါ်မှာရှုခွင့်ပေါ်မှာပေါ်လို့မပေါ်ခြင်းလက္ခဏာရှိတယ်လို့ဆိုပါတယ်စကားကကိုယ်ကောက်ပြီးတော့ပြောတဲ့စကားလို့ဖြစ်နေအနောက်တိုင်းဆန်ဆန်ပြောတဲ့စကားမျိုးလို့ဖြစ်ပေါ်လို့မပေါ်ဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ဒီစကားကိုအဖြောက်ပြန်လိုက်တဲ့အခါမှာနိမြုပ်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်ပါပဲမြုပ်ဝင်သွားတယ်ဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်ပါပဲဟောရေထဲမှာဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ရေထဲမြုပ်သွားတယ်ပေါ့ဒါပေါ့မြုပ်ဝင်သွားတဲ့သဘောပါပဲအဲ့ဒါလိုအဓိပ္ပာယ်ယူရတယ်အာယုပေါ်ကနစ်ဆိုင်ဝင်သည်ဆိုတာပါကိုယ်တည်းကဘာပဲပေါ်ထင်ရှားပေါ်လာတဲ့ရှုခွင်းအာယုထဲမှာနစ်ဆိုင်ပြီးတော့ဝင်သွားတာအဲ့လိုနစ်ဆိုင်ဝင်မှုမျိုးဟာတစ်ကြိမ်တစ်ခါနဲ့မပြီးပါဘူးအကြိမ်ကြီးခံမှာပါပဲဟုတ်ပဲကြိမ်ကြီးခံမှာဖြစ်နေရပါတယ်တစ်ခါမှယုံနဲ့မပြီးဘူးနှစ်ခါမှယုံနဲ့မပြီးဘူးထက်ခါတလဲလဲသင်ရှားအာယုပေါ်လာလို့ရှိရင်တော့ဒီလိုပဲရှုခွင့်အာယုနဲ့နစ်ဆိုင်ပြီးတော့ဝင်သွားလားထင်ရလောက်အောင်ပေါ့လေထူးထူးခြားခြားမှတ်နိုင်မှအမျိုးအစားအကောင်းဆုံးသတိဖြစ်လာနိုင်ပါတယ်စာပိုင်းမှာတော့လေ့ကျင့်ကမှရှိပါသေးတယ်အလေ့ကျင့်လောက်ပဲရှိပါသေးတယ်မှတ်မှချင်းတော့အာယုနဲ့ဝင်သွားလိမ့်မယ်လို့တော့မမျှော်လင့်ပါနဲ့မရသေးပါဘူးလေ့ကျင့်ပေးဖို့ပဲလေ့ကျင့်ရမှာအမထုတ်ခင်ကစွမ်းအားနှစ်ခုအခြေခံပြီးတော့အထုတ်စေကာလမှာလည်းပဲစွမ်းအားနှစ်ခုဟာပြီးပြင်းရှိဖို့လိုပါတယ်အမထုတ်ခင်ကစွမ်းအားဆိုတာတိပ္ပဌာန်ရဲ့အကျိုးသွားတွေကိုဒီနားလည်ပြီးတော့လက်ခံယုံကြည်ရသူတနည်းပြောတော့ပါတယ်တိပ္ပဌာန်ရဲ့အကျိုးသွားတွေဟာခုနှစ်မျိုးတော့ရှိတယ်ဒီခုနှစ်မျိုးတွေကကိလေသာမာရကိုအောင်နိုင်ခြင်းဒီနေ့ကိုယ်တွင်မိတွေကိုငြိမ့်နိုင်ခြင်းဒီအကျိုးတေချာတဲ့အကျိုးပါဆိုတာပြောတော့ပါတယ်ဘုရားဟောမိန့်ပါတယ်အတိုင်းဒီအကျိုးကတကယ်ကိုလူရင်းကြတဲ့အကျိုးပါပဲဒါတော့ဒီလောက်အထိအကျိုးရနိုင်ပါလားဆိုတာပေါ့လေသတိပဋ္ဌာန်ကိုလေ့လာရမယ်လေ့လာရဲဆိုတာကြားနာလေ့လာရမယ်ဆွေးနွေးလေ့လာရမယ်စိတ်ချရတဲ့စာအုပ်ဖတ်ပြီးတော့လေ့လာရသမဂ္ဂရှံကသတင်းစာဖတ်တယ်လို့လေ့လာလို့မရပါဘူးသမဂ္ဂရှံကနားထောင်လို့မရပါဘူးတေးသေးချာချာတခြားတစ်ပတ်စိတ်မသွားပဲနဲ့စူးစိုက်ပြီးတော့နားထောင်ရပါတယ်ဒါသိအရေးကြီးပါတယ်ယောဂရှိလို့ဆရာဝန်ရဲ့ညွှန်ကြားချက်ရှုတဲ့အခါမှာဘယ်လိုနေရမလဲဘယ်လိုထိုင်ရမလဲစိတ်ဘယ်လိုဖြိုးရမလဲဆိုတာစူးစူးဆိုင်ဆိုင်ပြီးချက်ချက်နားထောင်ရတယ်လို့ပေါ့လေနားထောင်ပါပါဒါမှတ်မိပါတယ် Yeah, they just not only she, Joe to a TV, but the or even Yatin, Joe, Didi go with him, hope I last, I want you teach Lekana, debut. I will debut and not buy her, Sanda, Bula, Pilita, Mani, Nailu at the Bobo. Yarada more such a Kilita, that way, Jume. They don't any that, go that. Lubudira, go the Abulo that Diazuri, Naivo Lore, Sravani. Sanda, you are. Mayoji and Sana of Puhamabu, Yojima Sana Puhamare. The Yago Santa and Nene, Lida Ligaton Lulu Miyabu. Mayami Alulu Miyabu, Ye Ya Lua. Atochi Yan a Joe, Naliame, Yoji Jayame, Sana Pua. That's she very far. She named it in our. I told the Camu Malave, Shuquin Ione, Te of USU, Santa Vosia, Shuquin the Yodwa out, outside, don't avo, Korea Sia, USU Arne, don't the sea, the Atose Kalama, Pizonyame, 6 1 Nakuba. Lichin Pinia. Licima Mialushi Be Ion over Mama. Very Ion never, she might say her. Surely, woman to other body. She did Jokepi Charekama, Jayama, new wind to other body. New wind to other kid up. Era ha, Okante to a poetry. I will never, they won't be up. Since some of your chinny is so that a music on the music let up. The show at really one line, won't up. When I lay money, Poutrin, I will Poutrin you go fire melody, below Poutrin Namele, that the body below. I took as I see the bear, Poutrin only. Licking bearable. Licking you don't cover. Mankane Lijimuha, Chini Chipabu, a Jotea Pushiba. Jaja Lichin Bailey, a Jotea Pua leve, Tio Lily, Omni Lily Kitap. Taja no day, Sigali the Mashiva, practice make perfect, Shiva. The Pamazon Lichiamava. As a religion, Lucy, gonna Maya the Tiha. Shuquin, I will never knew when to Lekana, she is so that the tea take over the Valakana, Yogi Kuranga, Machines I have in the tea level.
So Syara is explaining on Sapawa Lakkhana, that is the characteristic of Sati. So this characteristic of Sati is Apilapana Lakkhana. This characteristic, it says in an indirect form as most of the Western people used to say. So that means it is not warbling or it is not superficial. So if it is not superficial, then direct meaning is it is sinking or drowning into the object. So whenever one observes with the noting mind onto the object, it peers into the object and as if it is sink into the object or immerse into that object. So this way of sinking into the object is you cannot gain by noting through once or twice. We have to practice many times. Through several times, we have to note time and again, note and note and note. Only then we are able to observe with this characteristic of sinking into the object or piercing into the object. So Chara reminds to the yogi that in the beginning, of course, the beginner's mind cannot pierce into the object or plunge into the object. But if we are able to carry on with our walks in the line of practice, when the time due come, we are able to pierce and note on the object. So to have these qualities is, before we take up the meditational practice, we need to have two mental powers. These two mental powers mean, first kind is, we must understand the benefits. By understanding the benefits, we must accept it, we must have faith or believe it. So as there are 7 kinds of benefits, Sayadaw have explained, touched on the first point, and even the first point is already good enough for the meditators. This is to extinguish the defilements in oneself, or to extinguish the inner fire which is within ourselves. So if we can extinguish all these inner fires within ourselves, then that is the surest benefit one would achieve while you are practicing. So this is the main point we need to understand. To accept these benefits and the deep nature of this Dhamma, first of all, we must learn. That is, to come to understand this Satipatthana Dhamma, we must listen. And secondly, we must discuss with the appropriate teachers. And the third kind is, we need to reach through appropriate scriptures. When we are to listen mean, by listening superficially, it cannot go down into your heart. So that's why it is very important to listen carefully till it reaches to your heart. Likewise, when you are reading, to read deeply and carefully. It is not like just superficial reading as a newspaper. So it should be like, if we are a patient and if we are listening to the instructions from the doctors, then we need to listen carefully. Only then we will obey to his instruction. So likewise, when we are listening to the discourse given by the teachers, we have to listen carefully with due respect and seriously. Only then we will come to understand the facts of this Dhamma nature. So when we come to understand, then through our learned knowledge, then we have trust, or we come to accept it. Then when we come to accept it, as we practice, we come to have conformity. When with that conformity, we have strong chanda or desire to overcome these kilesa mara, to extinguish these defilements or the fires within us. So these fires within us are, although we are not dead yet, but the virtues of you were already dead if we are overwhelmed by kilesa mara. So that's why it is to take up this practice. It is very important for us to have trust or faith in this Dhamma, and we must have a strong desire or chanda to pursue this practice. If there is no confidence or trust in this Dhamma, we cannot practice properly. As well, if we have wavering mind too, we cannot practice properly. So that's why the second points, or the two mental powers, before we take up the practice is, first of all, we must understand the benefits of this Satipatthana Dhamma practice. And second is, we must have faith and strong desire to pursue the practice. So after we have all these qualities in us, then we start to take up the practice. In the line of a meditational practice, whenever we are observing or noting onto the object, we must have the right aim. That is the nature of jhana, or pointedness of mind. And with that right aim and pointedness of mind, we need the mental pushing power onto the object. That is the right effort. So with that right aim and the right effort, as we practice well and properly, then the more we practice, so we are able to note much and more. So that's why whatever the object crop up in our meditational field, as soon as you note to whatever the kind of object is, your mind sink into it and your mind immerse into the object. So that's why with that sinking mind, as if it is sustained or there is a continuity of awareness, with that thinking mind, you are noting on the object. So that's why Sayadaw explained as Okkantetava Pavittati.
Yogi Mya.
Sayadaw. So as the best kind of this, as Sayadaw have explained, to have this best kind of sati, there are some of the meditators who are thinking that, how am I going to have that kind of piercing mind or plunging mind? Of course, in the beginning, we cannot have that kind. But the more we are going to practice, when the time due comes, we will have that penetrative mind, and the effect of the practice will become perfect. So Sayadaw says that's why, as in the English saying, practice makes perfect. So when we are noting on the object with sati or best kind of awareness, then we would have that characteristic of sinking into the object. To have that sinking power from our mind is, by thinking alone, we will never have it.
Lokama Tambushi the Pisigo, Putan the Pisigo, Titan Tambu Mapivenero, Maya Nangu Surado, Naletago Luare, Putan Lady, Tambu Pia Lady Sawa, Tambu Chizo, Pisiu to Suruchi, a Chizo, a Puka Pia Valedana, Laluave. Trika Bhavana Tiyaha Sei Sinjavuga Sataniya Phin Kilita Mara Omniyega Asa Chukuna Yuro Pyatha Nera Mhopavu Edru Pyaya Aloe Zone Pitesa Hunia Pyodava Atija Zone Pitesa a Chinzum, a Shinzo a council the Bawa Achazum only at Kyotavarism. Tell up you anything, see it. Tayago, Toyo, Tayo, Tambu, Pidu, Yabu. Shopping center, PC immediately, Siva. Put on PC, losing Titan at Tambu, Pidu. Put on your saga, Yet of Amagan, Pete had Tamushi at PC. Go at Titan at Tambu, Mapivenero, Legaro Miao. Nyayulamiao. Take you to Lamiao. Titan at Tambu. Titan at Tamus. Kinkiam. Don't you say that my daughter, a day you can level. The cannon a chain is here. The Kego, a Julia Ludes, Sandal, Pimbia. Malogin, Login, the Lucia. Joseph. Tiahu, she the Joseph who left here, but take us here. Below Tanjiri pin him, Mamma. Gonna amuse a council the tea. Yes, she came. Take Tane, Tamu, Mapivenero, Mayabu. Atokale, Atole, Nile, Twile, Fuji, Digi, Tiny Cavalele, Lemony, Yamini, Chimney, Wally Filla. Kalida was Sanzawadi, the Lolo Yabu, the gay yogi, PV, Tuanido, Yanido, Tinido, Yavotero, Quedo, Sando, Tono Gero, Juarum Lanum Charo, Yeto Cadamelo, Pita Puna Asa. Kurega, John Day Sunday. Pitai, the Chupin Ioniha. Do a chain car like body, dance with a pony. A dance with a pony, the Chupin Ionigo, Yachi Mapia, a Jomakaya, Talente Easy. Nani, Annie, Sinzani Luciana, Era Ionachi Pia Doavi, Yauavi, no Piansa, Madeta. I did that Jamalo, Madeta. Ane Vido, she thought at him. Since Samapia, the Kunet who says her name, saw us that through Tajapilla. Jarema Pianiluchi, Swaria, Yovido. No, Bama Matudu, the Pit of them. Did a Kurega တန်းစီပြီးတော့ပေါ်နေတဲ့အာယုန်တွေကိုခုနချိန်သားကြိုက်ဆရာဆိုင်ပြီးတော့ရှင်းဆက်မပြတ်ပေါ့လေတန်းစီပြီးတော့ကိုမျက်ခြေမပြတ်လိုက်ဖို့သိအရေးကြီးတယ်အဲ့လိုမျက်ခြေမပြတ်လိုက်တာဟာတတိရဲ့လုပ်ငန်းစွမ်းအားတစ်ခုပါပဲ
Sarah explained, in this world, whenever we like to own, especially the precious things, we have to pay the price for it. So the more it is precious, we have to pay more higher price. So likewise, when we are practicing Satipatthana Dhamma practice, to overcome on Kilesa Mara, or the inner fire or the defilements, by understanding the 7 benefits. Not only that, as Sarah have explained in the previous preachings, that as this Satipatthana Dhamma practice is the easiest, it is the surest and the most natural, and it is the shortest one to attain the benefit. So that's why to have the benefits by practicing Satipatthana is, we cannot gain without any price. This is somewhat like you are visiting the shopping center. When you want expensive things, you have to pay more price. So likewise, as Satipatthana Dhamma is taught by the Lord Buddha, which is very precious for everyone, we need to have faith, and that faith is the kind like we have to pay for it. So this faith, as Jaro says, it is not the blind faith. Having trust in it, just try it. That is, with that faith or trust, we must have a strong desire to do. As we have the strong desire to do, and as we strive diligently, then it becomes effective in the line of Satipatthana Dhamma practice. So this is the kind for one to have best kind of sati or awareness. While we are in the line of Satipatthana Dhamma practice, at times we really note, but at times we gaze, at times we are drifted with stray thoughts. At times we are restless, or at times we are talking or so forth. So all these are not like the real yogi. We will be just like the children outside. So as a real yogi, we must pay very much attention to these meditational or objective fields, so much so that whenever we are noting, from sitting to standing, standing to walking, or even when we are blinking our eyelids, or bending ourselves, or going back and forth, or standing, etc. To each and every posture, to each and every action, we need to follow and note or observe to all the present occurrences. So that means, to all the present occurrences, we must trail off with our noting mind, so much so that we won't lose the objective field. We mustn't lose the view of all these meditational objects. So in that way, don't let loose of this meditational object. We must follow it and trail it continuously. So if we cannot note it in that manner, at times our objective field disappear because we cannot observe it. So that means we are having gaps in our mind. If we have gaps in our mind, then that is the time the stamina of our noting mind is weakened or lethargic. So if it is weakened, then the mental powers which we have already accumulated is lessened. So if the mental powers are lessened, then we thought that, oh, there is nothing distinguished, I cannot proceed anymore, and so forth. So in that way, you will be unidentified to these meditational objects. So that's why not to have this kind of attitude. Whenever the object occurred, try and note it with right aim and with the mental power, right effort, piercing or immersing into that object. And that kind of piercing and noting on the object should be continuous, so much so that trailing on the objective field shouldn't stop. It should be continuous. So in that way, this is another kind or another function of sati.
အဲ့ဒါတတိရဲ့စွမ်းရည်တတ္တိကိုသူရဲ့လှုပ်ဆောင်ချက်ကိုအသမ္မောစရစပြထားပါတယ်အသမ္မောစရစမှာသမ္မောစဆိုတာပျောက်တယ်ဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်ရောက်ပျောက်ခြင်းပျောက်ဆုံးခြင်းညစ်ချီပြတ်သွားခြင်းဒီလိုအဓိပ္ပာယ်ရောက်တော့ပါတယ်အာယုအပျောက်မခံရဘူးအာယုအလစ်မခံရဘူးရှင်းစင်မပြအပျောက်မခံမဲနဲ့ထက်ချက်မကွာလိုက်ရတယ်အဲ့ဒါလိုထက်ချက်မကွာလိုက်တဲ့ကိစ္စစွန့်ရည်တတ်တွေကိုအသမ္မောစရစလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်အပျောက်မခံတာတဲ့ညစ်ချီပြမခံတာတဲ့ဒီမှာအဲ့ဒါရှိရတယ်ဒီမှာဖြစ်ပေါ်သည်မြတ်ပါပဲပေါ်ပေါ်ပါလိမ့်main object ဖြစ်တဲ့ဖုံးပိခုပဲပေါ်ပေါ်အခြားပူရာအေးတာတောင်းတာတင်းတာထုတ်တာပါပဲပေါ်ပေါ်သည်မြတ်အာရုံဒီစဉ္ညာလျှောက်တဲ့ခါမှာကြွားတာလှမ်းတာချတာအခြားအထွေထွေအမူအရာတွေစုံလို့ပါပဲကိုယ်တွေကအဲ့ဒီပေါ်သည်မြတ်အာယုံนี่အပြောက်မခံရဘူးမျက်ခြေအပြတ်မခံရဘူးရှင်တိုက်နောက်ကနေကတ်ကပ်ပြီးတော့လိုက်နိုင်မှတတိရဲ့စွန့်ရည်တတိလှုပ်ဆောင်ရဲ့ကိစ္စပေါ်ပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီသဘောမျိုးလည်းရှိဖို့လိုပါတယ်တတိရဲ့စွန့်ရည်တတိလေးလည်းပဲထည့်အောင်လုပ်ဖို့လိုပါတယ်
So Sierra explained the function of sati, that is asamosa rasa. This function is non-forgetfulness or keeping the object in view. So samosa is losing or ending, or you lost the view. So you cannot catch hold of the object. So as a function, it has asamosa, that is non-forgetfulness. It is always trailing the object whatever as it occurs, not missing any moment. That means whenever we are noting, for example, whether you are following the rising or falling of your abdomen, you don't miss a moment. You are trailing these objects moment to moment and always viewing on them continuously. So in the same manner, whether you are following the footsteps or whatever the position or any other kind of object you are noting to, don't let it miss even for a moment. So when there is a continuum of observing or noting on the object, then you would have that asamosa rasa. That is the power of the sati, and that is to keep the object always in view, will become sharpened. ဒီလိုဖြစ်စဉ်ကြီးနောက်ကိုစဉ်ဆက်မပြတ်လိုက်တဲ့အတွက်စိတ်အာရောကုန်ကကိုအာရောပြင်းမနွမ်းနေပြီးတော့ကုန်ခန်းသွားမလားဆိုတာပေါ့လေဒီလိုတော့တန်တရားဖြစ်ဖို့မလိုပါဘူးရိုးရိုးအလုပ်လုပ်တဲ့အခါမှာပြင်းမလို့ရှိရင်အနားယူလိုက်တဲ့အခါမှာလုံလောက်အနားယူလိုက်တဲ့အခါမှာအားရပြည့်လာတာတစ်မျိုးပါအခုဒီတရားကတော့လွတ်လွတ်လပ်လပ်ကြီးအနားယူလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်ငေးလိုက်တွေးလိုက်စဉ်းစားလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်ပြန်ပြီးတော့အားတွေတော့ပြန်ပြီးတော့ဆွဲသွားတတ်ပါတယ်စစ်စစ်မပြချိန်သားကြိုက်ဆရာဆက်ပြီးတော့အဲ့ဒီအရှိန်နှမျိုးကစိတ်အစဉ်မှာအမြဲတည်းရှိနေရပါတယ်ဒီအားနှစ်ခုဟာအမြဲတမ်းလက်ပတ်နေရပါတယ်ဆိုကြပါစို့ကာမရာပဋိရှိဟိုရှိပါတယ်ချက်ချင်းအားတွေဝင်ဖို့ဆိုတာကတော့အင်းချင်းစက်ကပုံမှန်လဲနေရတယ်သို့တော့ဆိုင်ရာကျိုးနဲ့လည်းပဲ join ထားတယ်ဒါမှဒီကအားတွေကဝင်ပါတယ်စဉ်ဆက်မပြအင်းချင်းလဲပတ်ပါမှအင်းချင်းပဋိအိုးထဲမှာသူကအားတွေကဝင်ပါတယ်ရော့မသွားပါဘူးအသုံးပြုလို့ရှိရင်တော့ရော့မယ်အလကနားနေအားနေလို့ရှိရင်တော့ရော့ချုပ်ကားနေကားတွေဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ည3ရက်လောက်နားလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်ပဋိတောင်းတော့တာပဲနှုတ်လို့မရတော့
Nai ai lay Mailushi Yavida Ari Doma Yovavi Kosum Jokitova Nota Ari Wimusa Yonija Mishiva Lukcha Naibama Pore Aunashima de Saint Teo USU the sea Shivama Tia on leve don't add the sea Shivama Edlu Lepahu Shivama Kona the deep charging Ali the our color winner. Yo Madaru. The Luxan Haima Abshites, however. Eddie Betty charging 20 Nalia Vare. Miera change a video as a video. Second name La Luxan Shini Bama. Ah, the same thing that one needed. Let have you Nalia Vare. Naye Ariotame, Manavene, Sinsemabia, Ayongo, Yachimabia. Matnaye, Ari Wani. Era Nale. You know, we the Karaka Yogi Kakakiva. Sinsemabia Mata, they went to Lile, Dingile, Tuile. Nobody. Tore Kaleve, whom are you, Lulu, Tole Boni. Be, Ara, one living. Sivida Ali Doma Bian Treton. Edru Yogi Muro Samia the Pilling Melo for you to Amamaka, the Vadi Pina Pilling Melo to Amamaka. Coloma Koya, for you to never be them. Yogi, the Marine and Duli Yato on the way to Bamata, Quagoloma.
Because Syara have explained, to the continuum of the mind and matter, we have to note precisely. So to use this mental and physical energy, are we going to become too tired or are we going to be exhausted? So in that way, one may be thinking. Syara says it is not the same manner like we are walking in the ordinary walks. Even in the ordinary walks, if we become tired, then if we rest for a while, we become energetic again. So we are energized again. So, but in this Dhamma practice, if we are continuously noting, then all the mental powers are increasing time and again. But if there are gaps or not energizing our mental powers with continuous noting, then there will be decline in our mental powers as well to the physical. So that's why it is very important to sustain our mental powers that have already accumulated. We needed to note on to the object with right aim, with precise noting and with right effort. And that way of noting should be continuous. It should be so continuous like this power should go round like in a circular motion. Syara explained it is very similar to the nature of charging in the battery in a car. So in the battery in a car, when you started the engine, through the wires as well the other parts of the engine, then the battery is charged up. So the battery charge is not going down because it is circulating through the wires and the energy are charging into the battery. Sometimes if the car is not used for 1 or 2 days, then because of lack of energy in the battery, then the battery run out. So likewise, in our meditation practice too, if we are stopping, or if we are gazing, or if we have gaps, or if we have forgotten to note, then the mental charging powers are in decline or sliding back. Only when the noting is actively and continuously note with the right aim and right effort, then we are charging into our mental force like you are circulating the energy into your mind, which is very similar to putting in the engine charge. So without fail, even for a second, if we are able to note, then our energy in our mental powers become energized or uplifted. But if not, if we are not noting properly at times or are noting our superficial or so, then the powers in ourselves become slackened or drawn back. Only when one is able to note continuously, as explained, with the right aim and right effort, or charging into our mind, then we would be able to understand the nature. But for the meditators who are not continuous in the noting, for example, like they are walking, in the walking, they are not mindful. They will walk like ordinary person, or sometimes gazing or thinking or talking. That is the time in the line of the stamina of Satipatthana Dhamma practice is slackening. So that means they have no firm and cling to the sati in oneself. If there is no firm power or strong power in sati or mindfulness in us, Sayadaw says he cannot give guarantee to these kind of meditators. This is the kind of practice one have to pursue and practice. Only through your own practice you will gain the knowledge. So Sayadaw says, if you do not have these mental powers energizing oneself in a circular motion, then you cannot accumulate a training of concentration and wisdom. The teachers cannot do anything, but we ourselves has to strive.
တတိယပိဿဝတ္တအရှင်းအရာလေးတွေပြထားတာလည်းပဲတရစိတ်ဝင်စားစရာကောင်းပါတယ်။သူကနှစ်ချက်ပြထားပါတယ်။ဝိစီယဘိမုခပိစုပ္ပဌာနာနဲ့အာရခပိစုပ္ပဌာနာဆိုအဲ့ဒီမျိုးတွေကရှေ့ပိုင်းကတော့ဝိစီယဘိမုခပိစုပ္ပဌာနာဆိုဝိစီယအာယုရှုခွင့်အာယုဖောက်မှုပိတ်မှုပရဏအာယုကအစကိုယ်ထဲမှာထင်ရှားပေါ်သမျှအာယုလေးပါဠိလိုဝိစီယခေါ်ပါတယ်ရှုခွင့်ရှုွက်ခေါ်ပါတယ်တတိရဲ့ရှုစီရအကွင်းအကွက်အဲ့ဒါဝိစီယခေါ်ပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီပေါ်လာတဲ့ဝိစီယနဲ့အဘိမုခဆိုတာအဘိမုခဆိုတာရှေ့ရှုဆိုတာမျက်နှာချင်းဆိုင်နေတာပါပဲလူတူးနဲ့တယောက်တီးဖို့ဆိုတာသူ့မျက်နှာနဲ့ကိုယ်မျက်နှာပေါ့လေမျက်နှာချင်းဆိုင်တာမျက်နှာချင်းဆိုင်နေဆိုရင်တဲ့တယ်ဆိုတဲ့အဓိပ္ပာယ်ရပါတယ်သူ့မျက်နှာနဲ့ကိုယ်မျက်နှာနဲ့တဲ့ရမယ်ဒါလိုပါပဲဟိုကဘောက်မှုစာရှိတဲ့အာယုံနဲ့ရှုခွင့်အာယုံနဲ့ရှုမှတ်မှုနဲ့တဲ့ရမယ်ချောမနေရဘူးဒါကိုပြောပါတယ်ပိတ်မှုပေါ်လာတဲ့ရှုမှတ်တာနဲ့ခွင်ကြတဲ့ရမယ်အခြားပေါ်တဲ့အာယုံနဲ့ရှုမှတ်တဲ့စိတ်နဲ့ခွင်ကြတဲ့ရမယ်စိတ်ရလျှောက်တဲ့အခါမှာလည်းခြေတော်စိတ်ကပြီးတော့ကြွားမှုလှမ်းမှုချားမှုရှုခွင့်အာယုံနဲ့ရှုမှတ်တဲ့စိတ်နဲ့တဲ့ရမယ်အဲ့ဒါလို့ခွင်ကြတဲ့နေတဲ့အချင်းရာလေးဟာပါဠိဝိစီယဘိမုခဘာဝပိစုပ္ပဌာနာလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်ဓမ္မအာယုံရှိရှုတဲ့စောင့်မှုထင်ပြီဆိုတော့အာယုံနဲ့တဲ့ပြီးတော့ပေါ့လေနေတဲ့တရားပါလားဟိုကပေါ်တဲ့အာယုံနဲ့ရှုမှတ်တဲ့စိတ်နဲ့ပေါ့လေမျက်နှာချင်းဆိုင်ပြီးတော့ဆုံးနေတဲ့တရားပါလားဆိုတာပေါ့လေရှုရင်းကဒီအချင်းရာလေးပေါ်လက်တတ်ပါတယ်
Sayadaw explained the manifestation of sati or mindfulness. This manifestation has two qualities. These two qualities, the first kind is confrontation, and second is arakha, is the protection. So as for the first kind, Visiya Abhimukha. Visiya is the meditational object or the view. For example, the